Oh, hi there. Good evening. I had hoped the last video I made on the COVID-19, I was able to make peace with it and bury it where it belonged. Evidently, it's a low tone escalation. We'd like to think it's going away. It's not. More and more measures are being taken place. They're certainly not shutting up about it on mainstream media. And it just, I don't know, we could be putting up with this for years, and that's more than likely what's going to happen. I mean, some people go, oh, wear a mask, it keeps your germs to yourself and it stops you from potentially infecting other people. I got news for you, jackass. It's not me that's the problem. It's all of this plastic shit that we fucking live in that is the fucking problem. It all comes from China. The virus came from China, more than likely because of Donald Trump's trade war with them, in case you forgot. That probably pissed him off, lost him a lot of money, didn't like that. And who's to say, alright, fine, COVID-19, not really that big a deal. They're inflating the statistics about it. What if they bring about another one next week? One that's worse. Because we're so interlocked in our trade system, and everything from pants to toasters to computers, it's all made there. A big giant bulk of what we consumers use is made there. And who are the jagoffs who are responsible for this? Those lazy fuckers who wanted to make a quick few bucks a couple decades ago, and it snowballed from there. Now you got every fucking idiot out there who is not content with the things they have. You look at a television. You could have a television that's 30 years old and no, it's not going to be high definition. I have televisions. The oldest television I have that still operates is from 94, actually. Not a very good TV, but I have it anyway. I have better TVs. But anyway, this need to always get something better. One time this bureaucrat was telling me, oh, you can't have an iPhone 7. You have to have an iPhone 10. And when anyone tells me I have to have something, that's usually when I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about what you think or what you stand for or any of your opinions. So, yeah. I have the iPhone 7, and I don't even like that one. I preferred my 5S. If I could have another one and try and reinstall a battery for that one, I would do it. Because I hate the iPhone 7. And I'm sure I'd hate every other model afterwards. And besides, this gets getting into the, oh, well, this is slightly, not to my liking anymore, and this thing's new. I'm using the iPhone as an example. I'll huck this away and buy this. Feeding into this entity that created the iPhone. It wasn't only Steve Jobs. There are plenty of Chinese businessmen who made a lot of money out of that too. And you know what? I don't feel like supporting them. I don't feel like having to buy a new thing every time. And, okay, fair enough. A lot of this stuff is bad for the environment if we were making it over here. But as our stupid scientists are finally understanding that because something has happened on the other side of the planet, it affects this ecosystem. It most certainly does when you piss off a fucking country like China, who likes to think it rules the world and would like to do so in the future. And these idiots who go, well, if we, show how guilty we are, well, continue to buy the products from evil people, then somehow that makes us exempt from the bad things that other people do. No, fucker not, it doesn't. I mean, the old expression, when the government tells you to jump, you ask how high. I don't fucking jump for the government. I don't fucking trust them. I think they're incompetent and I think they're stupid. That's why they don't tell anybody anything, because they don't want anyone to see how stupid and incompetent they are. Like, who in the fuck would trust the Chinese at any time? For centuries, we've known first thing they do to anything they do is poison it. That's kind of how they operate. They've operated that way for a very long time. And, you know, people chose to ignore that because they figured, well, we got leverage on them on this and that, and they're not likely to do this because of the repercussions and yada, yada, yada. And look, oh no, they've been proven wrong. Evidently, we can hit them hard enough that it's at the low stages of this coronavirus, COVID, and it hasn't escalated too much. Don't let those 5 million people infected from the States brainwash you into thinking that this is a rampant, out of control virus, because it's not. You get people dying from motorcycle accidents, from heart failure to anything, and they'll label it as COVID. And that's to pump up the numbers, because in reality, they know full well that the Chinese, the communist Chinese, have in laboratories far more dangerous viruses, and other than diplomatic negotiation, they have no way of stopping them from bringing those viruses over here. That's the truth. So that's why they escalate it. Make it sound worse than it is, because it really could be, and it's because of their incompetence. So no, Canada is not going to get a pat on the back from me. I don't think they did a good job. I think they're a bunch of fucking idiots. These are serious, serious people, and there is nothing worse in this world than a serious idiot who can't take being wrong and will get belligerent if they're proven wrong. I've seen it. I've seen it in my arguments with people on the internet when they're not particularly bright, their argument doesn't make any sense, and when I explain to them why their argument doesn't make any sense and why they're not particularly bright, they get furious with me. That's the response of a complete and total fucking moron. So what really is the solution? Because right now you take the Steve Colberts, you take the Joe Bidens, all the like, who either want to downplay the situation and blame it all on Trump because it was Trump's trade war, meanwhile neglecting to mention their segment in it. Their segment in it is, well, we can smooth things over in a few decades, a few centuries, and things will normalize. No. China's a shithole. And, despite the fact we've not taken the best care of North America, it actually is one of the jewels of the world. Medium to moderate temperatures, lots of grazing land, a lot of potential, great mountains, questionable good water. I mean, you find out some of the things some people put in water and you wonder why people eat fish. I eat fish. And I have noticed the significant decline in quality of fish, particularly cod and salmon, actually. Even the fresh stuff doesn't taste as good as it used to. I'm talking about sockeye salmon, the good salmon. And that's everywhere. And we're having a pretty crummy season right now, too, so that's another factor. Arrogance, belligerence and arrogance were our leaders of past, and the leaders of the future are just as bad. They're just as incompetent, they're just as stupid, and we've yet to see full circle what it is they intend to do and how to resolve this situation. You could take a look at everything that's made in China, and most people, and I really mean it, this is where the tinsy pincy racism comes out in people is when, especially when it comes to food, but also with other things. If it's made in China, therefore it's inferior. And that's true to most cases. But actually, when the Chinese are very motivated in making something like a virus or something else, like I guess iPhones and all that kind of shit too, they're actually very good at it when they're that dedicated to making it and they have the resources to do so. They don't have the resources or the inclination to, build things well in China for people to see. Everything's shit. But those people in China who are the billionaires, who are hand in hand with the Communist Party, we need to remind you again, we only use the word communist because that's what we call them. They're not communists or anything even close. They're whatever they are. We don't even know what to call them. They are, some of the people are near in untouchable, which is very, very, very unique about that country, considering how much it's riddled with corruption and internal strife and struggle. And there's always, ups and downs and leaders that have power. It's actually very tight-lipped and very much a secret society, the leadership of China. Like, some people will go, well, India could be the next China in the future. No. They got too many cracks, too many flaws, imperfections in their system. If any of their leaders pissed off somebody in the States or pissed somebody off in Russia, they could get to them. It doesn't matter how high you climb up that tree. If you're in the Indian government, somebody can get you from the outside world. Not necessarily the case when it comes to China. Very difficult to get some of the people who are in charge and who have malicious opinions, particularly of the West, but of the world as a whole. They believe that it belongs to China, and it doesn't. And these same people who go, well, we'll smooth things over, they'll ease on down, blah, blah, blah. They're wrong, because those people are always going to be around. There are always going to be people in China, in the power ship, the generals, the admirals, even though their navy's pathetic, but anyway, prime ministers, any number of names that we would call normal leadership, apply it to them, who will always hate us. And they themselves are very wealthy. But it is imperial prestige that is at hand. It is the eventual destruction of China. Because what China is doing to India right now is it's trying to encircle it. They've got their water supply, and they're building bases around India. So they're trying to enclose India, and when they do that, it basically just demolishes it slowly until it's a tiny state, and then it's destroyed. I mean, arguably, we were doing the same thing with China. I mean, there's a reason that Taiwan is there, South Korea is there. We wanted all of Korea, but we didn't quite get that. Vietnam, tried there. It just wasn't feasible with the terrain. That's a big part of that war that a lot of people leave out, is that it simply wasn't worth the kind of money it would have cost to reinforce there. That, and the Chinese were getting very angry with us being there. And I say us because it means any white guy. I mean, you slap one of those removable tattoos or non-permanent tattoos of an American flag on somebody's arm who's white, and they're going to go, he's an American, and that's what I believe. And you're going to have a hard-pressed time talking your way out of that. And then so on and so forth. Japan, India, and also Russia. And a lot of the Middle Eastern countries don't. Well, they're in shambles right now anyway, but they also kind of don't really like them either. They don't really like anybody. I mean, supposedly this big deal with Iran has come about with China, but they're always saying shit like that. Who even knows? Iran's fairly isolated, not only because of Western interests, but also because of topography. Just the layout of Iran is not very favorable to them. That and nobody likes them, and they don't like anybody. So it's if China went forward with military action, not that it could without igniting a world war that involved everybody. Maybe Iran would step up then and then do its own thing, but that's exactly what it would do. It would go off and do its own thing. There would be no joint coalition force of Iran, China, and whatever other allies or people they can blackmail as an army to go about doing whatever it wants. So what China has to do is it actually has to split its armies into multiple factions simply to understand and deal with every problem. Because, like I said, if China makes any military action significant, not, creating little islands or, buying out some little African country, I mean, a significant military move, then every country that doesn't like them, and there's a lot of them, is going to get involved. We're talking the French, the British, the Russians, the Indians, the Australians, the Americans. For the most part, everybody, the Israelis even. And the Chinese army has to focus on every one of those little problems. And it's not easy to fight a war like that. That's like fighting a war, on 50 different fronts. And they kind of don't have the resources to fight like that. They may have the biggest, air defense network, airplanes, battleships, or not battleships, fighter craft and such. But it costs time and resources and the advantage of surprise for those to be effective enough. So it's all about the little things, which is what this COVID-19 is. It's a little, if Trump tightens his grip around China's economy a little tighter, they'll increase the dosage of the COVID-19, and they will continue to do this on forever. And we can't have that hovering over our heads. It doesn't matter if you think, well, if we're passive and, we let them kind of be the asshole that they are for an indefinite amount of time, they'll eventually cool off. They're not going to cool off. I already explained. It doesn't matter what the common everyday person thinks. The common every person is a fucking idiot. And these people are so OCD. That makes the people on the news stations OCD look like nothing. Nothing at all. They're so OCD. I mean, it's okay to be a little OCD on some things. Like, if someone tries to lecture me how great Asia is, they're gonna find that I'm a bit tone deaf on the subject. I don't understand anything great about that entire continent, and I would never go there. However, I will talk trash about them over here, because that's perfectly fine, even if this ends up on some Japanese internet cafe. That doesn't scare me. They're an inferior people, if you want my opinion. So this, I suppose, what the left is trying to say is, let us coddle the Chinese Communist regime, and hopefully things will smooth over in time. We all know that's not going to happen, so it's like pulling off a Band-Aid. You can be a little bitch about it and pull it off real slowly and just prolong the discomfort, or you can just rip it off all in one go, like you should do. Uh, and, I believe in Donald Trump's trade war with China. There are many ethical reasons why it is the rational thing to do. But of course, if you're some slimy worm who's been coddling to them like Biden for the last however many decades he's been doing that for, pandering to them, then, obviously that would conflict with your financial interests. So there is a flaw already in their argument. Big one. Not a little one, a big flaw in their argument. It's embarrassing we're even in this situation with them in the first place. They're not that clever of people, really. They're able to build high-end technological things because they have hundreds of thousands of slaves who get taken out back by the dumpster and get shot if they don't produce results. And you know what? That kind of works. After a few 100,000 dead bodies, you will get a few people that will get the message that they have to work harder and they have to survive. We call that the gulag system. And, a lot of people are really worried. You get people going, well, like say you're on the train, for example. They're walking past you, right? And they're like, am I going to get my 6 feet? Yeah. If you turn around, you might get it if you walk in that direction the fuck away from me because I was standing here first. Other than that, I guess you're hooped then, aren't you? So, I'm not happy with this whole COVID-19 situation. I'm not happy that I'm going to be more discomfort. And guess what? As I said, they have laboratories with more heinous, evil plagues sitting there waiting to be released into the world. And guess what? Even a hazmat suit won't help you with some of those ones. So while we're all walking around wearing those stupid paper masks on our face, I actually went ahead and bought a nice one, but it's nice as a relative term because it was expensive for what it was. But anyway, and I only did because I have to, because transit is going to make it mandatory to wear a mask. Is that really what's the problem? I don't think it is. I think it's more got to do with how high do we have to jump, Mr. Government? How high do we have to jump? You asked us how high you asked us to jump. And this is all about us obeying orders handed down by the government. And no offense, I don't feel like taking orders from an incompetent for one thing. And I'm doing my own thing, my own business. I'm not, doing anything. And we're slowly descending into a world where fear and paranoia are running rampant. And this is exactly what it is. It's fear and paranoia. And it's like, you don't even know the half of it. If I told you some of the things I know, and I know because I have a differently constructed brain than you do, I think differently, you wouldn't even get out of bed in the morning. And I do have to be careful because, there are certain organizational bodies out there that have this strange notion of sometimes the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And therefore, if it helps de-escalate another situation, they could put guys, hypothetically like myself, into a situation that I don't want to be in to dismiss everything I've said and also shut me up because they don't like my opinions. For example, they could give me the COVID-19. How could I stop them? Honestly, if they really wanted to give me COVID-19, how could I stop them? I've criticized them. I've called them idiots. I've called them incompetent. I guess the only way I could stop them would be to, convince everybody that that's what they've done. if I do catch it. Because statistically speaking, British Columbia is we're like nothing. We got barely any. There's probably a reason for that. It's probably because a lot of coddling of the Chinese Communist Party has happened here. Let's not forget about Li Ka-shing. How he bought up all that land for nothing and made a bunch of money, and it had toxic waste in it, and we had to clean it up. Expensive job. And probably a bunch of other horrible things as well. So they went, okay, we'll go easy on British Columbia, and we'll really stick it to New York. I mean, New York wanted to be the financial hub of the world, and guess what? It is. For all the wrong reasons. So anyway, I'm going to finish up this video here. I think I've blabbered on long enough, and I got my point across that I did not want to talk about COVID-19 anymore, but I had no choice. It's still on the television. It's still irritating me. They're still making changes in what society is normal. Imagine it. People who are, in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, they lived a life where they didn't have to wear a mask all the friggin' time. Us young people, and me being relatively young, I'm not that young, but relatively young, we're going to have to get used to wearing a mask probably for the rest of our lives. And, that's actually quite a damper on things, isn't it? It's not fun wearing any of those masks. None of them are comfortable, for one thing. I know I've tried. They're not. You try working in one of those things. They're not fun. You try going for a run or anything in those things. They're not fun. Well, yeah, that about wraps up this video. Guess I'll talk to you people later. Have a good one.